Two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Little scoop session here with our guy Darren Doogie Wilson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. We'll get to the breaking Gophers basketball news the last 48 hours here. But the Twins season starts, so they're starting on the road. Dex is going to be out there for the SKOR North Twin Show, covering out in St. Louis for opening day. Got our mugs of glory here for these guys. But when they come back home, tickets are available, Dex. Tell the audience.
Yes, they are. Twins.com/tickets. Don't miss the home opener, April 3rd. First 10,000 fans do score the City Connect beanie, presented by your local Northland Ford dealer. Twins baseball's back at Target Field. So go to twins.com/tickets to learn more and unlock and increase benefits for ticket flexibility, season tickets, any type of ticket actions. Twins.com/tickets.
Doogie, it's always kind of funny when, like, Ben Johnson got fired last week. And like everyone loves Ben as a guy, and there's so many challenges that really, like, whether you're Tom Izzo or anyone else, like, if you don't have NIL money, you're screwed. But it's always funny, however, when you fire a coach and then immediately, like, the Gopher social media, here's the private jet pulling up with the new coach. Here he is to save the day, and it's the same thing we did when they fired Patino. Ben Johnson's going to be a breath of fresh air. He's going to save Gopher basketball. So help us parse apart. Niko Medved has done a great job at Colorado State and other stops. He's from Minnesota. He's a Roseville guy, and he was an assistant coach here long ago. How do we parse apart him as a coach and a builder of a program versus just that fresh car scent of, we just fired someone and now we got our new car here?
Niko can coach. I don't think anybody can debate you on that. Go to Ken Palm, look at the analytics, top 55 in the country this year, offense, defense. I had a nice conversation with David Roddy, Breck High School, first-round NBA pick a few years ago, now with the Rockets on a 2-way contract. David played for Niko at CSU, talked with David at length on Monday. David laid out just the brilliant offensive mind that Niko is. Like, take away the Roseville angle, the Gophers manager angle, the Gophers assistant coach under Dan Munson, Jim Molinari angle. You look at that resume, that screams coach ready for high major Big Ten play. I could argue Mountain West basketball is just about high major, but really, when looking at the Big Four, those conferences, he is ready for this. He has earned this opportunity. There's a reason why West Virginia, others, had interest in him, not only now, but going back a couple years. He is ready for this. But there's also a reason, Phil, we can go back to the early 70s. There's also a reason why every Gophers coach has either been forced to resign or been fired. So we don't necessarily have to point to Ben Johnson, bad coach, or Richard Pitino, bad coach. There's more in play. Now, revenue sharing will undoubtedly help, but you still need some of that NIL money. But revenue sharing, it's still not official, but we expect it to be official come April, that the Gophers men's basketball program will get a sliver of that $20.5 million. Football will get a good chunk of it, but men's basketball will get the second most money. So that is now money they can pay the roster. That is aside from NIL deals. So you can still negotiate NIL deals. All these guys now have agents/brokers. But other schools, Michigan State, go up and down the list, can now pay all these players. So what Niko is going to have to do is convince some pretty good players, hey, you are going to get paid. Maybe you can make a little bit more somewhere else, but you are going to get a good chunk of change here, and I will help develop you. He has proven, not just David Roddy, he has proven he can develop NBA talent. And so if that is the goal, Niko will help that player hopefully fulfill his full potential. But I'm telling you, Phil, until the NIL portion of this equation gets completely solved, I don't know how you become an upper echelon Big Ten team. We're talking about 18 teams in the Big Ten. How are you among the top 9? Because when looking at this job, one could argue, Phil, This is one of the 2 or 3 worst jobs in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And so how does Niko solve that conundrum? But he can coach. I have no doubt in my mind, talking to a number of people going back many weeks, right? I mean, you go back 12 days, we were doing this on a Reckless Speculation Thursday. We mentioned one name. This thing has been done for weeks. We have known. Maybe it didn't leak until, 2 a.m. that morning when Ben Johnson was officially fired. But this thing has been in motion for a while, right? So behind the scenes, you start doing a lot of research, a lot of homework on Niko Medved. Everything that I have gathered suggests this man is one heck of a coach.
All right, so let's help him out. I got a question. It appears there are no rules now. So what I would do is I would actually, as I go talk to brokers, agents, what I would say is this. We got a fan problem. We got a fan problem, and we don't, and unless we start to win basketball games, we're not going to solve that. Can you put in, either publicly or not, I don't care, bonus clauses in these contracts for players for attendance?
What do you mean?
I mean, how exactly are you getting people to show up, though, Judd?
By winning games.
I don't know how you solve that. I really
How
don't.
are you winning games without players?
I don't know.
No. I'm
really
saying
don't.
if I can get a recruit, if I can promise a top player an extra, I don't know, take your pick, 100,000, 500,000, I don't care what it is, based on attendance. Because if you win games, they need to find, what they need to do is they need to find workarounds right now so everyone benefits. You're not going to, because what they're going to say is, oh, we're up against it, blah, blah, blah. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to think of ways where everyone benefits if you win, because it's a business now. It's nothing more than, it's just like a pro sport. So would there be a way to come up with workarounds so that if you win games and people come back out, everyone, including these players, profits off of it?
Why does the player choose to come here? Let's just hypothetically say there is a $500,000 bonus. That really good player is likely getting that plus more without the attendance, written into the contract, right? At some other program. And so why is that player coming here? Now, maybe there's a tie here. I understand that, but heck, you look locally at the 26 high school class.
Yeah.
It's just okay.
Mm-hmm.
Point guard at Eastridge. I'm a big Jaden Moore fan at Hopkins, but he still has some developing to do. Like, there's not a whole lot to celebrate in the 26 class outside of the kid at Wayzata, who Wisconsin and others, Creighton, have been working on for a while. Christian Wiggins. I think that kid is going to be really, really good. You look at the 27 class. Okay, Ty Schlegel, Creighton-Durham Hall. Okay, I like him. But I'm just saying, if you look at the 26, 27, even 28 classes here in Minnesota, there's not a whole lot. So how are you convincing that young man at IMG Academy in Florida to come to Minnesota over Maryland, over Duke? That is still the issue to me. Now, Niko has a line on some money. I am unaware of Niko having a line on money. Like, I just saw that UNLV hired the former Memphis and Georgia Tech coach, Josh Zapasner. He's been doing some ESPN work. Josh knows some people. Does UNLV know something that I don't know? Is that why they hired Josh? Because they know that Josh has a line on money. John Calipari had line on money right when he got to Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm unaware of Niko having that sort of connection to millions of dollars. Maybe he can work it. Maybe Ben wasn't working it enough. I think Ben was trying. I think Thorson was trying as well. By the way, Dave Thorson fully expected to join Niko Medved's staff. I have another name for Niko's staff, Brian Cooley from Colorado State as well. So to me, those are two of Niko's assistants. So Thor's been working it for a while. Can Thor convince somebody to cut a check for $1 to $2 million? There was some scuttlebutt that Ben thought he had a line if he had remained coach on somebody cutting a check for $2 million. Did Dave Thorson also do some work in that regard? I imagine so. Can Dave still get that person or people to cut that $2 million check? That would go a long way. But you still need that. It is, Judd, it's professional sports now. It's EuroLeague basketball. Just think about professional basketball in Europe. That is now big-time college basketball.
Well, I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit of Judd here. I don't think you can put it on the players and say, hey, if you come here and if you like, they're already coming here like trying to be good basketball players. They're 18-year-old kids. They're 19-year-old kids. Focus on being the best basketball player you can be. What boggles my mind, this is why it is a Mark Coyle issue, and by extension, whoever is helping to organize either internal or external fundraising efforts here. And I know that it's very gray and muddy as to what the university is allowed to do versus the external NIL pools. But here's what boggles my mind. Over our lifetimes, or call it the last 20 to 25 years, the University of Minnesota has been one of the 5 to 8 largest public universities in the country, with Ohio State, Arizona State, Florida, these big schools that dominate in sports on a regular basis. 50 to 60,000 undergrads enrolled at the University of Minnesota every single year. And so on the back end of that, because there's a decent graduation rate and you've got all these great grad programs, you have more people that consider themselves University of Minnesota loyalists and alumni that run through that school every year, every 4 years, than almost any public school in the country, which means you got the Carlson School of Management. There's entrepreneurial school. You've got more business leaders and business owners and rich people. It's a math game. The people are out there with money. What's the disconnect? Are you telling me that 50,000 people that run through that university, 60,000 every 4 years, that there's not 1,000 people with a ton of money that would love the Gopher basketball? I mean, Dave Portnoy is a Michigan guy. Dave Portnoy is loaded. Dave Portnoy and a couple other rich people decided, you know what? We want that quarterback to be the quarterback of Michigan football. Let's cobble together $10 or $12 million and make that happen. We sit here and we talk about, our friend Nadine puts together great tailgates, and you've got these companies that'll like donate a portion of this can of seltzer that you can to NIL funds. And that's great. That's great. Who are the rich people that can get you a $10 million chunk for the football team, $5 million chunk for the basketball team, that take pride in wanting Gopher basketball to be a Big Ten champion at some point? That those are the connections and the relationships that need to be built.
They are out there. There's also some people like the Andersons donating tens of millions of dollars to St. Thomas. They are not St. Thomas alum. So are there some people here in town that you can build a connection with that actually are not U of M alums? But certainly, yes, there are plenty of people that have graduated or went to school at the U that are now filthy rich. How do you get those people to cut the check? One thing I have heard, now some of those people have passed away, all right, like the Dick Ameses of the world. But what I've heard, I won't say the name, but from somebody that is a Gophers booster who has a good chunk of change. What I've heard from this person is, I hate it how it's just a 1-year contract. I'll cut the check for the practice facility. I'll cut the check for any number of other things. But when this player can leave after 1 year, so maybe that's something that needs to be worked on. Multi-year contracts. But if you're the player, if you're the player's agent, are you convincing your player to sign a 2-year deal? What if you blow up, you're in a position to go pro after 1 year? I don't know why you would sign a multi-year contract. But we do now have signed contracts, pen to paper. That is very important. One thing the U has done a really good job of, I've yet to hear of them burning any athlete on funding. Like you hear some other stories across the country, the U has done a phenomenal job. Whatever the agreement is, that player gets that exact amount of money. But I just don't know how you convince these people when they just don't want to do it, where they say, okay, it's 1 year, then that player can go. They're just not interested in that. How does that change? I don't have the answer to that, Phil, but that to me is the question. There are people willing to spend some money. There are actual boosters for Gophers men's basketball.
Yeah,
I know some people laugh at that, but there actually are, I promise. There are boosters, but how do you get them? How do you convince them? Okay, yeah, that player could leave after a year, but we need that help immediately, and we can win in this just 1 year. We haven't been, to the Sweet 16 in forever, Elite Eight. Hey, if you help me pay this player $2 million, I like our chances. But you know what then that person says? Coleman Hawkins leaves Illinois. He goes to Kansas State last year for $2 million. How bad was Kansas State this year? That's just one of any number of examples. So nothing is guaranteed. That is the struggle. When a player can leave after 1 year, then what? I don't know how to solve that.
If a player wants to leave to declare for a professional draft, okay, bye. You're gone. I totally get that. But here's how you solve the problem. First of all, if you are a mid-major feel-good, okay, and you have a great year, and a big-time school comes, they're going to take you. Too bad. But at this school, like if you're a Big Ten school and you don't retain and match. So like if a kid goes and says, I'm going to get $1 million from K-State, if you're that good and you're here in Minnesota, match the offer. Match it. Like this is pro sports. Like this is so ridiculous. We have these educators. I'm an educator. No, you're not. You're a GM.
But
Mark
match
Coyle,
it with what money?
Well, no. What I'm saying is you have to. That's where you have to get the money. That's where you have to. So don't bitch and moan about, well, they're on 1 year contract. No, they're not. We need more from you. If you want to donate, we need more. We need a funnel. Like don't make a donation serve as a funnel of cash coming into my program. That's what I need.
I'll give you one anecdote, and I get that this is different than like the NIL world we're living in now, where it was 12 years ago, I want to say, so Glenn Perkins had just signed like a big major league contract, and he was, by the way, a first round pick who had millions as a bonus. He's a multimillionaire. Glenn Perkins, one of the most notable recent Gopher baseball players of all time. And the Gophers, for like 2 or 3 years, were looking for just some like basic upgrades to Siebert Field. They needed like $150,000 or something for some new lights or to put lights for the first time ever so they could play some night games at Siebert Field. And I asked Glenn one time, like, hey, they've been talking about upgrades here and they're begging people for $5 bills at Gopher games. I think they're like passing a basket around like you would at church to raise money to put some lights up for the first time. And I asked him one time in the clubhouse when I covered the team, I said, have they ever like just come to you and said, would you help? And he goes, no, literally never has anyone. And now eventually he paid for the lights. It was like $200,000.
You got it done.
But I was the facilitator.
You were the conduit.
But it's like,
Bill
how
called
is
John
that
Anderson,
possible?
John called Glenn, done deal.
And that's 12 years ago, and it's one small example, but how is that possible? We need new lights at Siebert Field. It doesn't need to be $10 million. We need like a couple $100,000. Do we know any rich people that love Gopher baseball? Oh, I don't know. Let's think about that. This, and I'm looking at the list here too, of the top 10 largest enrollment public universities. It's literally like 9 powerhouse sports universities and the Gophers. It's Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State, Arizona State, Florida. Where are they getting all this money from? I don't know. The 55,000 people that go through the university and proudly proclaim themselves to be from the Ohio State. Find these people. There are millionaires out there that would love to be asked to donate some money for the Gopher basketball team to get to a Sweet 16. Find them. Mark Coyle, that is your only job right now.
Are you sure they would love to be asked? Maybe love to be asked. Are you sure they're willing to cut the check, though?
We'll find out.
Pause in that.
Dude,
do you
think they've turned over every...
Ben tried hard. So what did Ben do wrong that now Niko can do right?
Dude, Ben was in over his head as a coach. Like he's not and it shouldn't be all on the coach, by the way.
Right.
If you're an athletic director, this is on you, and B, hire a general manager of your 2 biggest programs to take work off people's plates so more people can go find money.
Garrett does a good job with the football program. Men's basketball needs a GM.
Yes.
And so maybe that'll come up even during today's news conference if there's a plan to hire a general manager. That needs.
Spoiler alert, there isn't one. I can almost guarantee it with Mark Coyle at the helm. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying there needs to be a plan in place. Volleyball. Gophers volleyball now has a general manager.
Then why doesn't
Men's
basketball
needs
then why
a
doesn't
general
basketball?
manager.
Yeah, I mean, that's wild.
Here's what I need, though. Here's what I need, okay? I need Mark Coyle to make a choice. Do you want to be AD of all sports? Because if you do, that's awesome. Because now I'm going to go hire an AD to be in charge of football and men's and women's basketball. And Mark Coyle's job then starts with hockey. If you want to bite off the chore of, and I never want to hear about your educational background again, football and basketball, then you are a businessman. And as of today, the pressure is high. And this is as much on you. You will not fire another coach because you're next. But I want ADs that run these programs. I don't want ADs. Like if you are, you know what? And this is a very fair response. I got into this job, Dukes, to be an educator. And I want to be. There are minor sports that love you. Joel Maturi, you had a pavilion named after you because you loved the minor sports. And by the way, God bless those kids. They should all play. It's great. But when we're talking about the cutthroat nature of professional sports, if your goal is to be like, we got to be fair to every sport, tennis and blah, 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 then get out of my view. And I'm going to hire someone who's going to be a GM. It would be like Derek Falvey saying, I love all sports. I just want to be involved with all sports and help them all. I'm like, dude, you run the Twins. That's all you do. I am so sick of these ADs, and everyone always falls back now on education. Education in those sports in particular is gone, which is fine, but it's gone. Let's quit.
You literally have kids making $200,000 to up to $2 or $3 million.
Yeah.
Are they... Like they're doing this professionally for way more money than most people are going to get in their entire next 10 years working whatever their full-time job is. So
student athlete. Like I hate that terminology. I can't stand it. Student athlete.
It's pro sports. It's pro sports.
It's professional sports.
Yeah.
If you're some potential donor, does Mark Coyle inspire you? Mark does a phenomenal job. I'll continue to say this at hiring coaches. But in a public setting, in a meeting like that, if you're T. Denny Sanford, I still think they messed that up many years ago. T. Denny should have been the guy. T. Denny Sanford should have been this university's Boone Pickens. Remember Pickens when he was alive?
T. Boone Pickens.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Yes, T. Boone Pickens, right? Look up how much money he has spent on Oklahoma State athletics. T. Denny Sanford should have been this university's T. Boone Pickens. That was messed up many, many years ago. But I'm just saying, if you're a potential donor, how is Mark Coyle the one inspiring you to donate all sorts of money? And I like Mark. I probably defend Mark more than a lot of people. But I can't wrap my arms around that.
I like a lot of folks. I don't respect them all.
No, he's not. Yeah, in terms of is he inspiring? I think the answer is not quite yet. Dukes, we got more to go here. We'll go through the rest of your scoop bag after we shout out MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Judd.
And why? Because they are people that you can 100% trust. On Friday, the furnace starts to cough and wheeze a bit. Sports dad's like, ooh, that's not good. So I call MSP Saturday morning. Joe shows up. My furnace is out completely. Guess what? He leaves. It's fixed. Why? Because I've got guys that I know I can trust and that can do the job. MSP does exactly that. Also, Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores have proudly partnered with MSP for the Big Green Egg giveaway. Get $60 off any HVAC or plumbing repair, and you will be entered for a chance to win the Big Green Egg from Fratelloni's. By the way, Hunter has a $1,000 value. A great family-owned and operated businesses, both Fratelloni's and MSP. For service, call the folks at MSP if you're having issues at all. 651-615-4292, or check out their website, callmsp.com. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air. You need people that you can trust. Sports Dad trusts them, and so should you. Call msp.com is the website.
Also, Dennis Kirk is at the 36th annual Donnie Smith Bike Show this weekend. They're back as the title sponsor of the event. It's the official kickoff to spring riding season. So we're getting it's the sun is shining. It's still a little brisk, but a lot of you have probably fired up your rides for the next few months here. And at the Donnie Smith Bike Show, it's some of the best motorcycle builds in the country and the largest indoor swap meet as well. So you can come visit the Dennis Kirk booth, spin the wheel for a chance at some awesome prizes from swag to concert tickets. See the 2025 Dennis Kirk bike build done by Lakeville North High School chopper class too. So all sorts of cool things happening at the 36th annual Donnie Smith Bike Show at the St. Paul River Center this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. All right, Dukes, what else is left in your scoop bag here before we part ways for today?
Well, one more Niko note. I mean, this information is available via a data request. It's a 6-year contract, which we knew from Monday. He'll make approximately $3 million in year one. So that's about $1 million leap from what Ben Johnson would have made next season. I did mention Dave Thorson, Brian Cooley. Those are two names to watch for Niko's coaching staff. Kyan Evans, Colorado State point guard. How he didn't make all Mountain West Conference. Like, you mean to tell me he's not third team? That was weird. But anyway, really good point guard. Certainly that is the biggest name to watch. You know, does he enter the portal? Who's the next CSU coach? Do they hire internally? So that could change the tone of this conversation. But certainly Evans would be the prize in the portal if Niko can bring Kyan to the Big Ten. I wrote down that J.J. McCarthy was on with Kay Adams, recorded interview, and he said, and it doesn't surprise me that he has not been promised the starting job. No way, no how was Kevin O'Connell going to say, hey, JJ, 100% you are the guy week one. They need to see him on the field, namely in training camp, but I would bet on the guy. I've said that for a long time, but that makes sense. But I'm glad that JJ verbalized that he has not been promised anything. Doesn't seem like anything is really going on in the backup quarterback situation. Maybe we'll get some clarity on Wednesday when we get some FaceTime with Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. But it doesn't seem like they're in any sort of massive rush. Like, from what I can gather, I don't think they've extended an offer to Ryan Tannehill. Yes, conversations on Joe Flacco. You know, more started by the Flacco camp, but it doesn't seem like there's any sort of offer that's sitting there on the table. A trade, you know, still makes a lot of sense to me somewhere down the road. It's a fun talker, but it just doesn't seem like there's any sort of big sense of urgency on the Vikings end. Brooks Lee, Declan, have you talked about this? I'm told, okay, I get it. Chronic back issues, right? So that's the headline. It's unfortunate, right? It really is. But I'm told it is not the issue from last year that was disc related. That Correct. His discs are okay. This is more muscle related. So there's a sense this is more shorter term. But it's still an issue, Declan, when Brooks Lee has himself noted he has dealt with back issues for a really long time.
Yeah, it's a back. Yeah, they didn't. When I asked a year ago this time when they first provided an update, I said, so you could have gotten a surgery with Brooks Lee and it would have been, you know, like a 16 months. It's back recovery. It's a major surgery. And I get some reluctantness there. But then when Brooks Lee comes in on Twins Fest and says, yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with back issues, I think, for the rest of my life. You're 23 years old. What do you mean you're going to be dealing with back issues your whole life? So whether it's the herniated disc or not, yeah, it should be a quicker recovery, but it's still a back and head injuries. I don't like those ones. Those are the ones that scare me the most for athletes.
Yeah.
Correct. One other Twins note, we at Hubbard Broadcasting did not get the over-the-air rights. So another station in town will have some Tuesday, in fact, just about every Tuesday Twins game on their air, but it won't be us. So if you're not paying for twins.tv, if you don't have cable, you will have access to Tuesday Twins games over the air. Former Gophers pass rusher Danny Strigo of Orono has a visit with the LA Chargers in early April. Quinn Carroll, former Gophers offensive lineman from Edina, he has a workout today with the New Orleans Saints. Vikings draft visitors April 7 and 8. April 7 and 8. I believe that's a Monday and a Tuesday. If I have the dates off, I apologize, but that Monday and Tuesday, I guess it would be that second week of April. Or April 1st is what, a Wednesday or a Tuesday, whatever that next Monday and Tuesday is. 7th and 8th.
Hey, real quick
Monday,
on the TV thing for the Twins. So they announced a bajillion sort of smaller cable deals around the state. But as of right now, the only way is if you are an Xfinity person or if you are a YouTube TV person or Fubo TV, right now the only way to watch Twins games is either Tuesdays for free on a different station or twins.tv, right? Like you can't if you
although okay, so you're saying Xfinity. So if you had Bally Sports North a year ago, like I have DirecTV, I will have Twins games. They have not made the official announcement yet, but I have that sports tier that includes now FanDuel Sports. I will have Twins games over DirecTV because I pay for that sports tier package.
Okay.
I will have those games starting on Thursday. We just don't have the official announcement here as we're recording this at 10:30 Central Time on Tuesday morning. So at some point in the next 48 hours, I fully expect clarity on that front. Yes.
So it's done. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Now, I can't speak for YouTube TV, Fubo. I mean, I guess if you had Bally, if you had Twins games last year, whatever tier you have, whatever cable system
but you have
or streaming system you have, if you had Twins games last year, fully expect to have Twins games again this year. I just know I can selfishly speak to DirecTV.
Yeah. Okay. There he is, folks. Darren Doogie Wolfson.
One more note. Our guy Johnny Tower, St. Thomas men's basketball. I hear that Drake kicking the tires on Johnny. Now, that being said, I fully expect Johnny Tower to be the Tommy's coach next year, year one in their new arena.
Drake is quite the pipeline.
Yeah.
Quite the pipeline, right? Fran McCaffrey was Drake, right? Niko Medved, Drake.
Was Fran
McCaffrey Drake?
No. I don't remember Fran was, but it's definitely a pipeline for coaches.
McCollum now. Yeah, Nico. No, I don't think Fran was that Drake, was he? No, I don't think so.
I'm going to verify that because I know the audience. No, he was Sienna. The audience was dying to know.
I think the old school Dr. Tom Davis, who coached the Hawkeyes, was originally a Drake guy ages ago, like in the 70s. But so you're not wrong.
We'll do a separate scoop special on the history of Drake basketball coaches. You know, it'll be great.
What happened to your Wolves last night, Phil? Still not defending, huh?
And Anthony Edwards is playing with a badly cut hand and going 1 for 11 from 3. And by the way, Obi Toppin hit 6 more threes last night too. Obi Toppin has hit 13 threes. He's not a good 3-point shooter. He's hit 13 threes against the Wolves this last week.
Don't tell me he's not good.
It's ridiculous.
He's an all-star.
So, just get to the playoffs so everyone can lock in and
well, what does that look like? I mean, tiebreaker over the Clippers helps, but they don't have the tiebreaker over the Warriors.
No.
So are they stuck in the 7 or the 8 seed? I mean, I get it. You would take your chances in a 7-8 matchup against the LA Clippers, but I don't know if you want to be in any sort of one-game scenario. I will say, though, the more I watch, I feel horrible for our guy Ryan Saunders. Like, I do truly think he's in trouble coordinating that Denver defense. That defense is so putrid. If the Wolves open up against the Nuggets, like to me, the Wolves should be the betting favorite, even though Denver would have home court advantage. To me, the Wolves, if they play the Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs, the Wolves should be not even like a slight favorite, a pretty heavy favorite. That should be the matchup that everybody roots for. The Wolves opening the playoffs against the Nuggets.
Just came to me. Ryan Saunders, general manager, Gopher men's basketball. What better name to bring in here to raise funds? Great guy. Everyone loves him. The last name is gold. Right, Mark Coyle, you get on this right now.
That's actually a pretty dang good idea.
Don't ignore me. Don't.
Limited partner with the Wolves or Debbie, his mom, right? But the Saunders family has a little.
The Saunders family name is gold
in the Wolves, so they know a lot of people. Yeah.
Dad goes. I mean, Flip goes back. Oh, it's perfect.
I agree. Let's make it happen. All right.
Hey, right. I mean, Tom Izzo still a close friend, right? Think about Tom's access to the Ishbias. Maybe the Ishbias can still help out Minnesota sports, not the Twins. By the way, we've talked about this. The Pohlads were never accepting 1-4 or 1-5.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe a year from now.
I'll give you that.
Never in the short term. We've talked about this for months.
That's right.
The Orioles sold a year ago for $172 billion. The Pohlads were not accepting anything less.
And the Pohlads aren't accepting Joe Pohlad outside of their owner.
Well, I haven't heard that part. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not sure Joe is a logical thinker, right? There's a lot of things we can question with Joe Pohlad. But I'd like to think, like, what? Like, okay, somebody comes in and you're going to be able to still run the show? I haven't heard that. I'm not dismissing the Athletic report on that. I just haven't heard that myself.
It's from multiple sources. Apparently it's like a
what I
real
have
thing.
Heard for months, they are not accepting right now 1.4 or 1.5 billion. They're just not.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be any sort of surprise. All right.
Go Twins.
I will talk to you guys in a couple weeks. I'm going to
Sounds
enjoy
good,
some
dudes.
time.
Enjoy your spring break.
You're leaving?
Darren Doogie Wolfson
Bye.
from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. See you guys.